For more information, you can visit bostonfilmgala.com/attend and follow us on social media at Boston Film Gala. Now today we are joined by a guest, Major Dorfman, director of Inferno Glory. First off, I'd like to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, first off, I saw the film. It was great storytelling. It was very imaginative, and it had some good comedic elements to it.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on to the film, I'd like to ask you about your background as a filmmaker. Could you tell us a bit more about your journey and what brought you here as a filmmaker?
Sure. Yeah. So, to be honest, growing up, I didn't always know I wanted to be a filmmaker. I grew up with an older brother wanting to do everything he did, and he was a big Star Wars fan. So naturally, I was really into Star Wars with all the figures and memorabilia. And I remember when The Phantom Menace came out, and I was really excited about that. I wasn't conscious of the filmmaking process yet, but I think the excitement was definitely there for me. But I think later on was when I started to get more serious about actually creating movies of my own. And I remember watching The Departed, the Scorsese film, and I think there was one shot when it sort of hit me that there was where I became conscious of the filmmaking process. There's a scene, there's a shot where the police captain falls off of a building and he's falling to his death, and in the background you can just hear seagulls chirping. And I remember seeing that and thinking, wondering why they chose to do that. And that was sort of one of the moments where I realized that I became aware of these choices, these artistic choices behind filmmaking, and then from there I started to want to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now tell me about Inferno Glory. So just without going too much into detail, of course, tell me a little bit about what it's about, and tell the audience a little bit about what Inferno Glory is about.
Sure. So Inferno Glory is about a screenwriter who is struggling to come up with the perfect dying line in the movie that he's written, and he's having a hard time doing it. So what he does is he puts himself in the same situation as the character in the movie in order to try to come up with something authentic and beautiful.
Sounds like a situation a lot of our audience members would empathize with.
Exactly.
Okay, now since a lot of our audience members are aspiring filmmakers and a lot of them are creative types, a common problem that many filmmakers face is creative blocks, whether it be during pre-production, production, or during post-production. Mm-hmm. How do you get over one of these blocks?
For me, I think what I've realized is that I think creativity isn't just gonna come to you. I'd say most of creativity is putting in the work. Mm-hmm. I think I had a professor tell me that you actually have to try all the ways a story doesn't work in order to get to that one way that it will work. So it's really, I think, creativity is hard work and trial and error, and just keep trying different ways to make it work, make it click, and eventually it should just come to you.
So I'm gonna break my little rule here and give you a little brief spoiler in the movie. Mm-hmm. Now in the movie there's that scene where there's just that little blinking of the what do you call it? That little bar is just blinking and he can't type a little thing.
Right.
Now, what would you do if you're in that scene? There's not a single word. You can't even type a single word, and nothing is coming out. What would you do?
I would type the first thing that came to my mind, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Like I said, it's really just trial and error, and just you got to get something on the page, and then that's one less thing that you have to try. That's one more thing that you know doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds actually quite similar to what Andre was telling me last week. Actually, yeah, it's trial and error.
Exactly.
Now, Major, I was actually curious. So, first of all, how long have you been doing filmmaking? How many years?
I would say 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. I've taken it seriously.
So, what would you say your first filmmaking experience would have been like, regardless of whether or not that film has been released or not? What would you say that experience was like?
To be honest, it was probably just me and a tripod.
Yeah.
I think I went to a high school that didn't really put a lot of emphasis on filmmaking or film production. Mm-hmm. So I was mostly just me with a camera, trying to do things on my own. And a lot of the projects I did early on were, all the shots were static because it was just me and a tripod. Yeah, I think the first film that I made that I was proud of was this guy who, and I was the actor, I was the lone actor. He finds this envelope, and he opens it up, and there's photos of himself as he's opening up the envelope. So it looks like he's looking at the envelope. He's looking at the photos, and the photos are of him looking at the photos. So yeah, it was little interesting ideas like that was what I started out with.
So how did that film turn out in the end? Did you release it? Did you share it with the?
That film was actually I submitted to Emerson. That was what got me accepted.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I've never released it. Maybe someday. But
yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll remake it. I don't know.
Include it with the collector's edition of one of your DVDs.
Yeah.
But another question, since you wrote and directed Inferno Glory, correct?
I did.
So I'm curious. What would your thoughts be if you had to have someone else direct your film? What are your thoughts on that sort of creative control? Are you the type of person who needs to have that creative control, or would you potentially be okay with someone else coming in to direct a film?
I'm the kind of person that needs to have creative control. I think that's just the way I am, and I edited the film as well, which I feel like I wrote and directed it, and on set, in my mind, I knew how I wanted it to be cut together, so I felt like my self-editing was the right choice, but in a way, I feel that also could be a double-edged sword. It could stifle creativity, I think. So you have to be careful when you take on too many roles, too many creative roles, or else it could put a hamper on the amount of creativity. Because filmmaking is a collective process. It's about collaboration. So you do have to be careful, I think, with that.
Mm-hmm. So, but at the end of the day, for Inferno Glory, it was mostly your.
Yeah, it was my idea, and I knew I was very sure of what I wanted it to look like. So I felt like I needed to be the one directing this as well as writing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now this is also for our audience watching. So looking back on your 3-year career as a filmmaker, what mistakes would you say you've made? And looking back on those mistakes, what mistakes would you say you've made and advise our up-and-coming filmmakers to avoid?
I would say, and this kind of goes along with the last question, don't try to do too much by yourself. I found myself with Inferno Glory trying to take on too many roles, ones that I shouldn't have been doing, and I would say a big piece of advice that I've learned is just let people do their jobs, do what you ask them to do, and they're there for a reason, and you must have asked them to do what they are doing for a reason, so they're probably going to get their work done.
Okay. Any other advice for up and coming filmmakers?
I would say don't be afraid to be excited about your projects. I think that's one of the main things. That's one of the big pieces of advice I'd say is when you make a project and you're excited about it, I think that shows in the work. When you're directing and you're excited about the scene, the actors will feed off that. I think that just the excitement spreads, and you can definitely tell by watching a film that the director or the filmmaker was passionate about it.
Okay. And now I have one last question before we turn it over to the audience for Q&As.
Sure.
Now, if budget was not an issue, what kind of movie would you make? Any kind of movie?
Budget wasn't an issue.
I'm putting you on the spot here, I know. Forgive me.
You know, it's funny, I think my favorite movies are the ones that don't go above and beyond with the money. But I would make Inferno Glory as a feature.
Yeah?
And get an A-list cast, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very interesting answer. Yeah. Okay, well that concludes all of our questions for the afternoon. Now we'd like to spend the last couple of minutes turning it over to the audience for any questions that you might have or comments. Now, yeah, we'll give it over to you guys.
Okay, so you have a lot of fans that have liked the video. Lisa Dorfman Berry says, "This guy is brilliant." And we do have somebody sent a message through our Facebook. They want to be anonymous, but they wanted to know what your favorite time on set for Inferno Glory was.
My favorite time on set was we filmed at a parking lot at IKEA in Stoughton, and it was great to be able to lock down a location like that, as interesting as at the top level of a parking garage. Filming there at nighttime was just so exciting to be able to do that. It's, yeah, just the filmmaker's dream to be able to have a location as awesome as that. It's so much fun.
Did you have to get permits for that, or
yeah, we did.
Was it guerrilla style?
No, yeah, we made sure that we were cleared.
I knew it looked familiar because I was
Yeah.
there a lot.
It reminded me a bit of the JCPenney mall in Back to the Future, the beginning scene.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why.
Was it the twin trees or something?
Yeah. I don't know. That was the first thought that just came into my
Yeah.
brain. I don't know why.
We thought about showing just the huge IKEA sign in the background, like from like a drone shot. We thought it'd be funny just to see this dramatic scene and just IKEA home furnishings in the background. But we decided not to do that.
Creighton Dorfman says, "Who is your inspiration in the film business?"
Inspiration. I would say I have been inspired by Christopher Nolan, mainly because I feel like his films they consistently are just so original. I think some of my favorite films you can sum up in one sentence, and they're on paper in one sentence. They're pretty enticing to want to see. So that's one of the things. When I come up with an idea for a film, I think if you can sum it up in one sentence and it's interesting just on that alone, then you've got something pretty good.
This is a personal question from me. For the title, did the title come to you before you sort of finished the film, as you were filming it, after?
Yeah, the title was after. I'd say the title was during the film. I came up with the title while we were filming, and it was. I went through a bunch of different ones, just ridiculous, 80s action movie titles. Like one of them was like Triple Jeopardy, or just ridiculous titles, because the film is like making fun of these stupid action movies where with the a cheesy last line. So Inferno Glory, I thought was you hear that and you can't help but wonder what that is about.
I love it. I think it's totally fitting for the film.
Yeah, thank you.
Big fan. What is the next project that you are working on?
So the next project, I want to do some more experimenting in music videos. Danny Elfman, the composer, is doing this little festival where he has composed a couple songs for filmmakers to create films based on the songs. And I'd like to try my hand at that, creating a film scored by Danny Elfman. So that's something I'm trying to do next.
You see on Twitter, we should tweet at him.
Yeah.
Check out his work at the Boston Film Gala and possible partnership.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our audience Q&As. First off, big shout out to Major. Thank you so much for joining us today on the interviews. Now, remember, we'll be hosting Filmmaker interviews every Thursday until the Boston Film Gala, which is the August 19th and August 20th. Once again, make sure to follow us on social media at Boston Film Gala, and for further information, visit bostonfilmgala.com/attend. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next Thursday.